What's good, YouTube? UFC 264 has just wrapped up, and it was kind of a disappointing night for me. You know, Wonderboy being my favorite fighter on the roster, him going down with that loss kind of, hurt the mood a little bit. But overall, the card was actually really fire. A lot of fun fights. Michel Pereira versus Niko Price was a crazy fight. Chris Moutinho versus Sean O'Malley, the toughness and durability in that fight was crazy. That fight shouldn't have been stopped. There was a couple fights early that were actually pretty good. But yeah, let's go over some of these fights. The first one I want to go over, Torpora knocked out Ryan Hall. Now, I haven't made prediction videos in a few weeks or anything like that, but I did think Torpora was going to beat Ryan Hall. And honestly, I thought he was going to win the way he did. I thought he was going to knock out Ryan Hall. I really did. I thought Ryan Hall was a little almost goofy out there with the way he was doing his jiu-jitsu. Like, he was just rolling, doing weird shit. It looked almost like he was just goofing around, not taking it serious. And eventually, like, he did one of those stupid rolls. Torpora stuffed it like he was doing all fight, but was able to land some vicious ground and pound and got him out of there. Send him to the shadow realm. Yeah. So tough for Ryan Hall. Suffers a big setback. I think he struggles against a lot of those 45ers, man. Everyone's saying, oh, Ryan Hall, the most feared guy. After that performance, there aren't going to be a lot of guys who fear him. Even though they should, because there's a lot of 45ers who are strikers and maybe not so efficient in grappling. But I think a lot of them will be able to handle him. And Torpora, that dude is a fucking stud, man. That dude truly, in a few years, he might be fighting for a title. Like, honestly, I was thinking maybe match him up against Movsar Evloev, but the thing I'm thinking is they're both undefeated prospects, and they might fight each other for the championship in like 3-4 years. So let's not book that fight immediately. So maybe give him, I don't know, maybe like Sadiq Youssef or Arnold Allen or something like that. This dude needs to be fighting top flight contenders, no doubt about it. And now we go on to Michel Pereira versus Niko Price. I'm not going to really talk too much about it. I mean, Michel Pereira did that backflip on Niko Price. Every time Michel Pereira does that, I'm scared because I swear he comes so close to landing on his opponent's balls, bro. Every time, bro. Every time he does that backflip, look, he almost like lands on people's nuts, bro. Like, this isn't the first time he's done it. I think it's the first time he's done it in the UFC. But all these people are like, oh, this is the first time he's done it. No, he's done it many times in the past. And every time he comes close to landing on people's nuts, bro. I'm telling you, that's the one thing I wish he didn't do. Everything else is awesome. The fucking cage shit, the flippy shit, you know what I'm saying? Just the wild man shit is awesome. And he has fundamentals, man. But just please get rid of that backflip, please. And it was a good performance from him. And Niko Price, man, he came on late. The durability, the toughness, the grit, the heart. That dude is a fighter's fighter. And, I was in the comment section of some community post arguing. Dude called Niko Price a bum. Bro, don't fucking call Niko Price a fucking bum. That dude is not a fucking bum. That dude is a fighter's fighter. So now we go on to the main card. OMalley just destroyed Chris Moutinho. Got the finish with like 20 seconds left. Herb Dean, you gotta let that fight continue, man. The dude wasn't hurt. He wasn't out on his feet. He didn't even get chicken legs. So, I mean, like, he's still there. He's still cognizant. You don't stop that fight. And Sean O'Malley looked bad, bro. Like, he looked good, but he looked bad. His volume, his output, his cardio was actually really solid, bro, honestly. Like, for the amount of strikes he threw, there's no problem that he started to gas out. He threw like, 300 strikes, 350 strikes, something like that. And his freaking connection rate was insane. He was probably close to, if not at 80% of his strikes landed. So, I mean, the fact that he was starting to gas out, like, isn't really like a thing to be worried about. I don't think he's going to be throwing about 100 strikes around every fight. So, yeah, I'm not really too worried about his gas tank. I know people question his gas tank. I don't think his gas tank's too bad. But just overall, he just looked a little, I don't know if it was, he just didn't look right there. Like, OMalley didn't look as sharp as he could have, in my opinion. Because I think, honestly, if OMalley was on point, I think he could have got that dude out in one round. I don't know what it is. I think part of it was Chris Moutinho. He was just standing in his face the whole fight. Just standing in his face the whole fight. Wasn't letting OMalley do anything. OMalley's footwork looked kind of iffy, which was interesting because OMalley usually has really good footwork, really good movement. Like his head movement and body movement was good, but his footwork just looked a little off. I don't know if he had an off night. I don't know if he smoked too much. I don't know what it was, but OMalley didn't look right. And then we go on to Yana Kunitskaya versus Irene Aldana. Now, I thought Irene Aldana was going to lose this fight. I thought Yana Kunitskaya had good enough wrestling to be able to take Aldana down. Aldana showed some wrestling deficiency against Holly Holm. Didn't really work. Aldana, she did miss weight by 5.5 pounds, but physically, she just looked like the stronger woman. And she landed that big left hook, if I'm not mistaken. Put Yana right on her ass. And then found the TKO shortly after. Good performance by Irene Aldana. Unfortunately, she did miss weight. Honestly, I think she's next in line for the title, right? I mean, Pena versus Nunes happens next month. So they could just put her in against the winner of that fight, who we all know is going to be Nunes. But if they want her to be active or she wants to be active, or maybe the winner is going to want to take a layoff, maybe she can go up against Jermaine Durandamy. But honestly, if I'm Irene Aldana, why not just hold out for a title shot? So, yeah. Greg Hardy got absolutely slept, man. Tuivasa got rocked by Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy has real power. He's a big dude. He carries a lot of punching power. He's, like, there's no surprise he's having some success in the heavyweight division. The least refined division in the UFC. Besides maybe women's flyweight or women's featherweight. Those two and heavyweight are the three least refined divisions in the UFC. And so, yeah, Greg Hardy's finding some success. But against Tuivasa, he found some success. Landed a big shot. Wobbled Tuivasa. Tuivasa was on chicken legs for a couple seconds. Greg Hardy tried to go in for the kill. And Tuivasa dipped. Big counter. I believe it was a left hook. As Greg Hardy was turning around. He was starting to turn around. And there was a big left hook right on the eye. Sat Greg Hardy down, put him out. And the welt on Greg Hardy's eye was scary, man. It was bad. His eye was shut. It looked like it was a balloon. It was crazy. The co-main event, the tragedy of the night, in my opinion. Wonderboy takes an L to Gilbert Burns. Now, Gilbert Burns, I do like Gilbert Burns. Dude's awesome. He's a good fighter. He's a tough dude. But, you know, of course, I was rooting for Wonderboy. Wonderboy, as I stated in the beginning of this video, is my favorite fighter. And unfortunately, he took an L. I thought Wonderboy would be able to stuff the takedowns, but he wasn't able to do so. If he was, I think he would have won that fight because the stand-up was clearly going in his favor. Rocked Gilbert Burns a couple times. A right straight that hurt him bad. And a round, was it a wheel kick? I believe it was a wheel kick that dropped Gilbert. So, yeah, Wonderboy was having some good success on the feet. But Gilbert eventually, you know, was getting those takedowns. So even though Wonderboy was having good rounds in the second and the third, those takedowns prevented Wonderboy from being able to build on his successes. So, you know, these two, it was a big question. Oh, what's next? What's next? I think it's pretty clear for me. You could do, well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Usman versus Colby next, right? It should be Usman versus Colby next. And Gilbert can fight Leon for the #1 contendership. I mean, Gilbert beats Wonderboy. He beats Leon. There's no reason why they don't throw him in against Usman again. He rocked Usman. In my opinion, he's had the most success against any opponent Usman's had in the UFC, in my personal opinion. Because Colby, although he did win rounds, he banked rounds, he ended up getting knocked out. So, I mean, and I don't think Colby's going to do very well in this fight. At all, actually. Colby, I don't think he's going to be able to get takedowns on Usman. Usman has impenetrable takedown defense. And Colby definitely doesn't have the stand-up to hang with Usman now. Especially since he's been working with Trevor Whitman. His striking is just a different level. He's actually not only striking well, but being able to put the power behind it. Usman's always had power and has always had decent striking. But he's able to combine the two. And is actually becoming pretty technical on the feet. Now, the one problem that I will say that Usman has, and it will probably always be a problem, he's a plotter. His footwork is not great on the feet. His movement's not great on the feet. And that's where I thought Wonderboy could have success. Because Usman is not a great mover. And Wonderboy has some of the best footwork in the division. However, after seeing tonight, Usman would have been able to take Wonderboy down and dominate him. So, But yeah, went on a little tangent there. Let's get back on track. And now the main event, Conor McGregor breaks his leg or breaks his ankle. Whatever the fuck happened. He broke something and the fight was stopped. That's tough for Conor. That's tough. I don't know what to say, man. The first round was competitive. It was fun. It was explosive. But if that fight continued, it was just going to go more and more in favor of Poirier. That first round, Poirier was landing shots. McGregor was landing shots. McGregor's leg kicks, they weren't very impressive. He was landing some heavy leg kicks on Dustin. But Dustin eventually able to get that takedown. Conor tried to go for the guillotine, but Dustin immediately transitioned to the other side, relieving all the pressure. Enough space, between his neck and Conor's arms. So, yeah, once he did that, I knew Dustin was going to be fine. And then shortly after, able to pop his head out. And then from the ground, Conor landed some nasty elbows, some punches. Those up kicks were nasty. And Dustin Poirier posturing up, throwing down strikes, landing elbows in Conor McGregor's guard. Those two were just throwing down completely. And then in the final few seconds, Poirier was complaining about, as he explained later in the fight, as he explained after the fight, he was complaining about Conor pulling on his glove and was kind of like not focused on the fight. And McGregor started throwing him and Poirier started throwing back. And Conor tried to counter when Poirier threw and he whiffed. And when he pivoted to throw that strike, his rear foot actually came off the ground when he pivoted. And when you pivot, when you throw your strikes, your back foot should not be coming off the ground. Your pivot foot coming off the ground generates more power, but when you lift that pivot foot off the ground, look, when it came back, look what happened to Conor. Broke his leg. Unfortunate. And I think that fight was definitely going in Dustin Poirier's favor. He won the first round, and Conor's energy gas tank was just going to shoot down from there, and Poirier was just going to continue to build and build. So honestly, I think Poirier was going to win that fight anyway. And so yeah, on to the title for Poirier. But yeah, those are my thoughts for UFC 264. I'm back. I'll be coming through with predictions next week for the fight night Makhachev versus Thiago Moises. Even though there aren't that many good fights, I'll be coming through with a prediction video. But in 2 weeks' time, that's the one I'm excited for. The return of the snake. TJ is back to take on Corey Sandhagen in a definitive #1 contender match. So yeah, be on the lookout for those videos. And that's it. I'm gone.